here. I got a group of friends that play poker. Just about 7 of us, and we play about once a month. And we play 10 cents a chip. Every chip is 10 cents. Buy-in is $10. You got 100 chips. And that way, it's just a friendly game. Nobody loses a bunch. We have fun. And we've made up a few games of our own or modifications. Maybe they exist out there already in other places. Don't know, but we made them up, and as far as we're concerned, they're ours. Telling some people about some of them and in other places, and they were interested in trying them out, so I thought I'd make a little video and just demonstrate a couple of the games we play. And so if anybody else wants to try them out, you can go ahead. One was kind of inspired by another card game that my family plays called Golf. And it has nothing to do with golf, it's just the layout of it that I'm following. Or a kid's game that they play with a ball and PVC pipes called 9 Square. So we have a game called 9 Square. I'm just going to deal 5 hands for this demonstration, just for space and simplicity kind of. So the first game is called 9 Square. It's 5-card stud. Now if you're familiar with poker, you know that the highest hand that you have wins, even if you don't call it right. For instance, you have a full house and you call 3 of a kind. Which, I mean, that would be pretty obvious, but if you call 3 of a kind and somebody else has a higher 3 of a kind, well, they still don't win because you have a full house. Full house beats 3 of a kind, and the other people at the table should be pointing out, well, wait, you have whatever. In this particular game, the only one I know of, you get what you call, and that's it. So it's your powers of observation and just checking stuff out, because it's 5-card stud basically, but each player has 2 cards. You pick your 3 cards from the 9 on the table, your other 3, to make 5. And that'll make sense in just a second here. They have to be in a row though. So here I go, I'll deal out. So this is 9 Square. Deal out how you want to. You could deal out the square first. You could deal out the square last. You could do it kind of in between like this. Deal player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5. And I'm going to put 3 cards out on the table. And then player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5. And then I'm going to complete the square and just put down 9 more, or the rest of the cards. Your discard pile goes to the side, no more use. Now what you have is every player looks at their 2 cards in their hand. In my case, I have an 8 and a 2. We won't even look at what else is going on here right now. That's just for demonstration purposes. So I'm the dealer. So we go around the table based on the 2 cards in your hand, not knowing what's here. Player 1 is going to make a bid or pass, whatever he does. He's going to follow around the table, normal bidding. Once the bidding is done, raises all met, whatever, then player 1 is going to flip 3 cards of his choice, any 3 cards. So let's say player 1 just flips this card, and this card. Now here's where the part I talked about picking your 3 cards. There are 8 possible hands in this. What pairs with my cards is not a random set of cards on the table, but a row, a column, or diagonal. So column, 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 row, 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 diagonal, or diagonal. That's your choices. I don't get to hunt and pick this card, and this card to go with my hand. So it's obvious that somebody could see a straight, and somebody could miss something that's better, that they could have had a better hand. So that's why you get what you call in this particular game. Now after player 1 has flipped 3 cards, the deal kind of shifts to him being the dealer. So now the 3 cards are flipped, and we would go around and bet again, the betting starting with player 2. Player 2 makes a bet, passes around normal betting. Once betting's done, player 2 flips 3 cards. So he flips this one, and this one. So now we've got a row done, and if you're looking already from the first hand, I had an 8, so I'm showing a pair of 8s. That's only going to do me any good in this column or this row. Nothing else goes with the 2 yet. So player 2 is flipped. Now starting with player 3 bids now based on what he's seeing in his hand. Bidding goes round and round and round. After the bidding is done, player 3 flips the last 3 cards. Now say for instance player 3 folded. He's out of the game. Well, that just shifts. Player 4 becomes the next player. So whoever's left flips and flips the last 3 cards. Now in this case, holy cow, okay, that was lucky. You got 3 kings right here diagonal. So right away, everyone at the table has 3 kings. If somebody's holding a king in their hand, of course that makes really good, or a pair. I didn't stack this, by the way. This is just how it dealt out. So now the last thing's flipped. Everybody's looking at their hands, making their final decisions, really scrutinizing, figuring out what their best play is. My best play, of course, is a pair of 8s. But I know right here looking at the table that there's 3 kings. So obviously, I'm going to fold. So let's see what the other players had just to see. 6 and a 10, 5 and an 8, and a 7 and a 4. So actually, right now, let's see, you gotta study here. So 7s and 4s over here, there's just a 7 and a 4 there, so he's got a pair or a pair. If he goes with the kings, he's got a 7 high. 6 and a 10 here, he's got a pair of 6s, or still a pair of 6s, or 3 6s. If he goes diagonal, he could have 3 6s. But he's also going to say there's 3 kings there. 3 kings do not, or 3 6s are not going to beat 3 kings. So, he might fold. Maybe he won't. I don't know. Right here, 8 and 3, same thing I had. He'd have a pair of 8s, or 3 kings with an 8 high. This person right here would not go with the 6s, I'm sure, just because, again, he knows the 3 kings already beat it. So he would go 3 kings, 10 high. So if everybody here stayed, player 2 wins right now. Unless I'm missing something, that's always possible. But this would be 3 kings, 10 high, would win that hand. If I had stayed, I would have had the 8 high as well. I would have been beat. Player 3 had an ace high if they'd have stayed. We didn't even look at those hands though, so he'd have had 3 kings, ace high. So let's do that one more time, just deal it out. And let's go through it rather quickly. And we'll do the deal slightly different this time. So again, this is 9 square, 8 possible hands in a 5-card stud scenario. 2 in your hand, 3 from the table, but your 3 from the table have to be in a row, a column, or diagonal, not random. I don't like playing this with a wild card, but sometimes somebody calls a wild card. There's just too many possibilities already. You throw a wild card in there and it gets really hard to keep track of. Alright, so this time, like I said, you can deal out different ways. This time we're just going to deal out the 9 square at the start. Then I'm going to deal out the players. And discard. Everybody looks at their cards. Done. Player 1 looks at, or everybody looks at their cards. I'm just going to say player 1 looks at his cards. Everybody looks at their cards. We all bid. Bidding's done. Player 1 flips 3 cards. For simplicity, this time I'm just going to flip a row. Alright, so everybody looks at the cards, figures out what they have. Player 2 leads the bid this time. Makes the bid. Bidding goes round. Bids right. And I'm just flipping these cards. Nobody's actually showing their cards in the game. So player 2 bids, and then he flips 3 cards after the bidding's right. So player 2 flips 3 cards. Player 3 now has the lead on the bid. So everybody looking at their cards. Player 3 makes a bid. Everybody follows suit. Once the pot is right, I'm going to flip player three's cards. Player three then flips the last three cards. Everybody looking at their cards now that it's right. We still make a final bid after the last three cards are flipped. Once the pot is right, everybody calls their hands. In this case, again, looking at the table, I got 2 10s, 2 9s, possible straight if you had a jack and a king, or an 8 and a jack, something there. Not much going on there. Not much going on there. So right now the best hands just showing on the table is the pair of 10s, possible straight, pair of 9s. So here's an 8 and an ace. That doesn't help him with anything on the table. There's no 8s. And I'm not going to go through who folds and stuff, because that's just going to be a personal call when you're playing anyway. I'm just saying, he looks at his hand, his ace and 8, so I'm saying would go with this row, that row, that row, or, you know, it goes where it goes. So, not really any help for him here on the table. 6 and a 4, nothing. Another 6 and a 4, nothing. I'm sorry, pull that in there. 2 and a king, nothing really, because I mean, sure, that's the king you needed there, but you needed a jack as well, so they're out. Hey, what happens, I had a jack and a king, so there's my straight. If everybody stayed, I would win this hand with the jack and the king, giving me a straight. 9, 10, jack, queen, king. So that's 9 square. I hope that made sense. Covered everything there. The rest that I have to show you are simpler, more simple. Just slight modifications on a couple different things. I like 5-card stud. 5-card stud, though, is pretty quick game, pretty low stakes. I mean, who wants to win a pot with 60 cents in it, you know? So, even though, like I said, we play every chip is 10 cents. So sometimes we have, you know, usually it's still gonna be at least a buck or two in there, but after the bids and raises. But one thing I do with 5-card stud, or our group does, and these are games that we all like. We've made up some that we've not really liked, and they've kind of gone by the wayside, but some stick around, and these are the stick arounds. Whoop. I am not a Vegas dealer. Okay, so 5-card stud, but with a little twist, and so you can raise the pot a little bit. So 5-card stud, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Playing 5 players again, just for simplicity here. 3 cards out. In the pot. Everybody looks at their cards. Everybody bids. Bidding's done. Now here you got 2 different ways. You can do a 3-2 or a 3-1-1. So everybody bids. Still 5-card stud, but you're going on what's in your hand. You deal 1 more card out. Everybody looks at their hands. Everybody bids. So the pot's raising. You go around, you deal the 5th card out. Now you're at the 5-card stud, and you're still bidding. It just raises the bid, and you're staying to see the possibilities that you had. There's no sense in going through the hands to see who won. It doesn't really matter. The variation of this is doing that was a 3-1-1, but you can do a 3-2, just where you deal the 3 cards out. Everybody bids, and then you deal the last 2. So you do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm playing 3 hands this time, just for quickness. And then everybody bids, and then I just go deal out the last 2 cards to everybody. Everybody bids again. So it's a 3, 1, 1. So 3 bid, 1 bid, 1 bid. Or a 3-2. So 3 bid, 2 bid. So that's 5-card stud. It pulls the game out a little longer, raises the stakes a little more to get through the pot there. Wild River. This is my 3rd one. Wild River. This is a Texas Hold'em renamed Wild River. Why? Because the river is wild. So if you're familiar with Texas Hold'em, it's the flop, which is 3 cards. Everybody's got their hands, okay? You know, Texas Hold'em, I'm not going through Texas Hold'em. But you do everybody bids on their 2 cards, and then we do the flop. And everybody bids. And then we do the turn. Oh, and everybody bids. And then the last card is the river. Whatever the river is wild. It could be something that's on the table already, something you're holding in your hand. You don't know, but you got to stay to play. If you fold early and this pops up and you're holding a pair of twos in your hand and a two flips up here, well, you just had three of a kind, you know, whatever. You have three, or not three of a kind, you have three twos plus whatever you want to add with here. So the river, boom, it's a five. No fives here, but if you had a five in your hand or something, so this could be right now, this is wild, you know, it could be a seven, it could go 7, 8, 9, if you're holding the pair and you get the rest of it in your hand, whatever. So it's just a way to throw a twist in it. Instead of having a wild card that everybody knows about from the beginning, like I said, you have to stay to play. You don't know what the wild card is until the last card of the game is played. I've seen this happen where, you know, you have the, just for instance, you have the 8, 9 here, and somebody's holding, I don't know, just whatever. They're holding the 7 and a 6 in their hand. Okay, well, you're betting a straight right now because you know you already have a straight. And this is a strategy part of it, just, you know, just to see. Because it doesn't matter what the rest of the cards are. You know, the last card is wild. As long as it's wild, you have your 5 or your 10. So you have a straight already right off the flop here because you know you have it. The wild card's always going to be there no matter what it is. Even if it's an 8 or a 9 or a 6 or a 7, it's still a wild card and you still have your straight. So that we're just calling that one Wild River, Texas Hold'em variation. One other one I think of right quick is Dr. Pepper. And again, I don't like wild cards in general, but you know, whoever the dealer is gets to call what they want. One wild card game we play that is a lot of wild cards, 12 wild cards to be exact, because we call it Dr. Pepper. Why Dr. Pepper? Well, if you're a little older and you remember the old Dr. Pepper logo, 10, 2, and 4. I think it's 10, yeah, 10, 2, and 4. So basically, 10s, 2s, and 4s are all wild. 12 cards are wild. So again, in that hand, you're playing 5-card stud or 5-card draw or whatever you're playing. Dr. Pepper, 10s, 2s, and 4s are all wild. And generally everybody has a really good hand on that one because there's a lot of wild cards. So it gets interesting, everybody thinking they have the best hand. There's somebody's got a better one because they got more wild cards. I think that's all I got for right now. So I did 9 square, 5 stud with a 3-1-1 or a 3-2 deal, Wild River, and Dr. Pepper. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope you play them and you have fun. And if you don't, you know, that's it. Thank you. Jenny out.